going to make a new macro and put several oscillators inside of it. I'm going to rename this macro. For inputs, we're going to need P for pitch and F for frequency. The output, we'll get rid of that other one in there. We're going to need a third input to this macro. We could add that once we get inside the macro, but now's a great time to learn another reactor trick. So I'll start by hooking up my note pitch here, hook up my LFO to the frequency, and now see a couple of dots underneath there. And that means if I want to connect another cable, I can point there, hold down the command key, and it'll add another import for me. And I'll rename that for amplitude. There are other modules such as the mixer that have obvious benefits of that feature. Or I could have a lot of different inputs to a mixer, and I can just keep holding the command key every time I connect one, and it'll add another input for me. So now let's go inside this oscillator macro. I'm going to get rid of that extra output that we don't need. And start with the triangle. Again, I'm going to use the FM one. This order around here. Got the pitch control, frequency control, and amplitude control. Now I'm going to add a sawtooth. Say I'm going to choose the FM, so it's got all three inputs. And let's look in the submenu and see what other kinds of oscillators we could choose from. It's a nice long list to choose from. But we'll stay pretty simple and classic, and we'll go with the pulse oscillator. Of course, a pulse oscillator is going to have the additional parameter of pulse width. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to set a constant for that. We'll hook up the other cables as the other oscillators. And for this width, I'm going to turn on my hints and point there and see what it's looking for values. And it's looking for -1 to +1, where 0 would be the medium. So I'm going to set a constant of 0. Shut off my hints, and now when I right click, we've been adding controls. In this case, I'm going to create a constant. And already it gives us a good default number at 0. And so I don't even need to see that control or make any changes. I just want to leave it at 0. This value constant box, I could change the name, or I could change the value there. They're the same here. So now I've got 3 oscillators here. If I want to choose which one to hear, I want to use our switch. So I'm going to hit enter, type in switch, if I spell it correctly. So now I've got an output. And here again is one of those modules where, as I'm adding items to the inside, I just hold the command key and it adds ports for me. If I rename these right here, try, saw, pull, then out in the panel, the buttons for the switch are all labeled for me. Double click to back out. Take the output and hook it up to the filter. Now that hasn't enabled itself yet because these switches by default can be off. So I have not selected a waveform yet. Let me unlock my panel and get that switch out so I can click on it. And I don't really need to see the word switch there. Get rid of that. There's our triangle, our saw, and our pulse.